right, welcome back to the show. All we're doing another best of moments, just where we highlight just various parts of a giant franchise. In this case, we had one giant complex one that is the one, the only Dick Wolf universe that includes all the One Chicago, Law and Order, and FBI shows. And here to join me is Paula from the FBI's fan page on Instagram. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
uh, it's interesting how everyone's got their favorite, least favorite. I'm like, well, that's why there's three of each one.
Yeah.
Pick and choose. There is no right or wrong. It's no
Yeah,
challenge.
that's right.
If you don't want to watch the firefighters or the cops, you can watch the medics on Chicago. If you don't want to see the detectives solve the crime, you can see the SVU unit or the criminal intent guys, or hell, even the New York undercover guys. And with
Yeah.
FBI's, same deal. There's the regular, there's the manhunt guys on the most wanted, and then there's the international where they go after a lot of unusual foreign embassy kidnappings.
Yep, there's something for everyone.
Always. How would you say you got into this complex universe? It's just never ending. It's on 24/7.
Yeah, I think I first watched one of the Law and Orders. I can't remember which one, but that's kind of how I got into it. I like SVU, but I became super obsessed with Criminal Intent. I would say that was my first
It's a
super
wild one.
obsession show.
It was always kind of the sleeper, and it just always had bizarre
Yeah.
ratings. And then when they moved it to cable, same kind of deal. Like everyone then started forming their teams. I like these guys, or I like those guys. Oh, they've
Yeah.
switched it up, and now it's Imes and Wheeler, or now it's Wheeler and Logan, or now it's Logan and Gore. You never know.
Yeah, they brought on different detectives for subsequent seasons.
Yeah.
That one, it's still, if you ask me my favorite TV show, that's still my answer, that TV show. I can't wait till it comes back for a
Absolutely.
Canadian version.
For those who missed the
Um,
news, they're filming it up in, I just think, Toronto as part of the tax cuts. D'Onofrio and Catherine Irby were both like, hey, it's been enough time. We still get fan mail for it. Let's embrace the comeback.
mhm. Yeah, so
But yeah, it was always on my radar. I just always heard people talk about it. Just about every other character actor had been on one of these shows. And I mean,
yes.
the original
Yeah.
launched so many big superstars like Benjamin Bratt, and was a big comeback for veterans like Diane Weiss and Sam Waterston.
Yeah, I remember her on it.
That-
Yeah, and see, I didn't even watch the original Law and Order, not
it's
until it
another
came
one.
back last year. Yeah.
No, that's another one. Yeah, it's like it's a whole different property, and yet it's trying to make everyone happy again. And it's
Hmm.
interesting how they pick a different style and format on all of them. So it's like they all have to stand out in their own way instead of because
Yeah, that's true.
which I can compliment, because like I would see that with some of the NCIS spinoffs, and it was like, yeah, no, you guys don't have any charisma together.
It's funny how well they cast these shows too. The
Broadway's
actors
finest.
just work so well with it. Yeah, they just find the most interesting people.
And they
Um,
justify why they're quirky or able to solve these bizarre crimes, unlike some of the other ones where they're just like, yeah, you're just odd.
yeah, just pulling a rabbit out of a hat every week for
Yeah.
no reason.
I've been catching
Yeah,
up
that's.
on Organized Crime, which is
Oh
Stabler's
yeah,
manhunt show, and
yeah, I
it's
love
just,
that show too. Yeah.
and everyone likes to complain about the criminals, and I'm like, see, they're kind of taking a book from both, I feel, Homicide and New York Undercover, which I'll sum up some moments on those. But I mean, these are interesting
Mm.
because now they're picking all different kinds of like diverse groups. They're kind of getting away from the who's the main kingpin we got to take down,
Yeah,
this
and
season.
having multi-episode arcs for the same story too. I love that. I love that.
Oh,
That's
totally.
new for them. Yeah.
And everyone's having just kind of a moment in the sun. Like it's funny how some of the rookies are now getting used to the squad. Jet the hacker
Yeah.
is the same kind of deal where she's. I would love how each time they were in a briefing room, Say would be standing up, the Sergeant Bell would be kind of like in the corner with a not sure I buy this,
Yeah.
and Jet's always cross-legged like a typical kind of computer geek. She's like, I don't
Yeah.
belong in any of this setting. I can't stand you guys.
It's so funny that she's such a different character too, and it's so funny to
Yeah.
me to think of her as a cop.
Yeah,
sometimes. But I mean, or I wonder too
kind of
if
like
they're ever
Chloe
going to
on.
introduce like how did she become a cop? Why did she choose that?
I think they did say in one line she did a lot of cyber crimes unit, and her expertise was like so
Okay.
invaluable it paid for her college or
Yeah.
some shit. But she reminds me
Oh
of.
yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
Did you ever see the show 24?
No,
I noticed they
no, I
brought.
never. I heard of it. I didn't watch it.
No, it's fine. I noticed they brought in some of the same directors and even actors on
Okay.
both that. But I definitely get there was this hacker gal, Chloe, who would always be the whole, I'm working on a Jack, just frantically typing on a screen. And I kind of get that same kind of vibe, except she's not, except Stabler's not heckling her and she's not overpowered. She's just like, got it, got it. We're actually seeing what she's
Yeah.
doing on the screen. And it's
Yeah,
not
you can
something
see like
crazy.
the same sort of thing happening in FBI too with their whole
Oh,
the
yeah,
jock and all those analysts. Yeah.
totally. And kudos to them for them all finding their own identity and coexisting. I know some people were kind of
Mm.
complaining at first when they made some cast changes, but it's kind of inevitable. It's kind of part of the Dick Wolf train.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they especially within the first couple of years, they just find out who works and what they want to change. And I mean, with FBI, a new showrunner came in, I think, halfway through the first season and made his whatever changes he wanted for the second season. So it's kind of became a whole new show to me after the second season or after the first season.
Yeah, they were kind of warming up. And I noticed on like each like free episodes, I know they often film a pilot separate from the rest of the show, but I just found it interesting
Mm.
how they weren't exactly comfortable yet in those first few episodes, but they had an eye-catching crime. And then like
Yeah,
by the second or third episode, they found their drift and they're like, okay, we're gonna make these kinds of crimes. Maggie and OA on the main
yeah,
FBI are gonna have to talk some guys off a ledge, kind of like, and I just dug them because they, in a way, almost. I mean, when you get to even the most wanted guys, both Remy and Jess, and even the rest of the crew, Goins and company, all kind of remind me of definitely Irby and Imes
yeah,
and Gorins on M10, where they're playing good at playing the mind games. Like, here's what you want validation of, but I still got to stop you from
yeah.
jumping the ledge.
Yeah, I absolutely Most Wanted reminds me of Criminal Intent all the time. The same kind
SVU
of,
would
I
kind of
think they even
go
have some of the same writers. Yeah.
right, and all the you just feel good when you see a white supremacist get shot in the head.
Hmm. Yeah,
SVU is more
it
like
does.
who's the pedophile or who's the he said she said or who's the incel gunman holding up a bank. You know,
Yeah, that's, I think, a lot of the appeal. Definitely those shows, the bad guy always gets it in the end. So,
right? No courtroom date.
yeah.
And um, one show that's kind of getting rediscovered. I really wish they'd put it on streaming already. Is Homicide, which uh, a lot the creators of that later worked on other hit shows like The Wire, but they introduced the
Yeah.
Detective Munch character who was brought over to
Yeah.
SVU. But their crossovers with the original Law and Order were awesome because it's just so funny. Like they just were admitting to each other, "Hey, you're out of your jurisdiction." But this guy, he
Hmm.
came from Baltimore to here. We need to get him. Um, and they first tried it out when they had Logan from the original show kind of appear on there, and he was being kind of an asshole to them, where he's dropping off a criminal. And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, and don't let him out of your sight." And like, what's that supposed to mean?
Yeah.
It's so rude.
Yeah. It's funny that they brought him back for Criminal
And
Intent so many
yeah,
years later after he was stashed on Island. I think that was his story.
yeah, and he had to do his own
Punching out
manhunt.
a councilman or something.
All right, the movie was a fun intro to that, where there's like he punched a councilman who was getting off for murder, and he got relocated to a
Yep.
different district. And he wants out of that district because he found too many bad cops getting accepting bribes or something
Hmm.
morbid.
Worked his way back, I guess, into
Yeah,
a
that was the
promotion somehow.
that was the way to convince his bosses. Like, hey, I might have been out of line, but I'm still a good detective.
Yep.
um, SVU has kind of gotten away from the whole like who's the main like famous actor playing a unrecognizable terrible person, and kind of got into
Mhm.
more just like let's give Finn and Vincent some promotions and school some new recruits.
Yeah, their whole secondary cast, like aside from Benson, is completely changed. It's just, well, aside from Benson and Finn, I guess. I'm
Yeah.
not really sure how that all happened, like how they decided their secondary cast was just gonna change completely, but I'm into it. I like the new recruits too. I liked
Yeah.
Muncie, and then she's gone already, so
I didn't understand the hate on her. It seemed like everyone was like, why she's such a hothead. I'm like, well, all of them are a hothead at one point.
yeah.
The
And
Octavio guy
to
was
be new
interesting.
in yeah, to be new in that unit too, all the things you see, I would think you would be that way
And at least
first.
they responded to the fans. The fans weren't crazy about them, kicking Rollins off. And like, okay, they're bringing her back for an
Yeah,
epic crossover.
yeah. That
Parisi's
was good.
leveled
That
up.
was a good
I'm
crossover too.
Well, and it's interesting with Carisi. I never would have thought he'd be lawyer material. The guy who has a bulletproof vest on
Yeah.
who's stopping people from jumping buildings.
Yeah, he switched from some halfway in between from cop to lawyer.
And
I like him better as a lawyer though, I think.
yeah, because like he's way more upfront. Is like, yeah, we can try
Yeah.
that, but it usually gets tossed out because not enough evidence. And I love how he's more upfront. It's like, did you do a DNA test? Why the hell did you not do a DNA test?
Yeah.
That's
Well,
the
because now he knows both sides of it, you know?
Yeah, and especially he and even the new DAs on the comeback of the main Law and Order are also interesting because like they're all kind of trying to just
Yeah.
say like they're always being mentored by Jack, who's the main DA, and he's like, okay, all the tricks we tried, 2 decades ago, it's not going to work anymore. The judges will
Yeah.
see through it. You'll make an ass of yourself, and everybody else, will be humiliated because they're like, dude, you exploit us in court.
Yeah, it's interesting the changes they made with that the law side of it for sure. How trying to keep up with, the times.
Absolutely. It's even
Yeah.
more fun when you see more or less just like even other actors who were on other hit NBC shows. Like every once in a while, one of the judges they had was a few Sopranos actors, but I didn't recognize them at all. But then they brought even some other
Okay.
people in, like who had been on like ER, or West Wing, or NYPD Blue, and so you're like, yeah, of course they got to work too. But it's cool to see them in a
Mhm.
new recurring role,
Yeah.
fifth
Yeah, for
stage of their
sure.
career.
Yeah, you were saying they don't do like the big name stars too much anymore.
Yeah, I
Guest
guess
stars
they
and
figured we used enough of them. No need to just
yeah, maybe. I feel like that's FBI doesn't do that for a reason. They don't want they like to keep things as real as possible, and I guess a big name star is maybe a distraction to that.
yeah,
So
a little bit.
um, yeah. So yeah, I guess organized crime hasn't really done that either. But I
There
kind
was
of
a
like that
few,
FBI sticks with not the big stars.
right? And it gives all the character actors a good second shot.
Yep. Yeah. And so many of them, like once you're on a Dick Wolf show, you'll be on them all eventually, probably. So it's good to get your foot in the door.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm noticing now some other actors who were on other shows with Danielle Monet Truitt, who plays Sergeant Bell,
Oh
and
yeah.
Maloney. Then they're now making their way on there. They even brought in some of their same producers because I think Irina Chalik, I think is how I pronounce the surname, was the head
Okay.
writer on Handmaid's Tale, which Maloney was on. So I was like, okay, cool. I like it
Oh,
when
okay.
people look out for each other
Yeah.
instead of, you're my favorite. I'm not going to consider anyone else.
hmm Yeah, there's a lot of crossover in all the whole universe for sure. Everything, not just actors, writers, all that.
hmm Yeah. And PD, I don't know if they can be as strong as they were probably the first few years. They're kind of going into just more typical heists, crooked
Yeah,
cops.
I see. I can't watch PD.
Yeah, it's too real
Voight just
now.
scares me too much. I can't watch it.
And I don't root for them. So it's like, nothing
Yeah,
personal,
right?
but kind of a
Yeah.
jerk.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I wasn't sure how I was supposed to feel about him, so I'm like, no, I can't. I can't watch him.
Yeah, it seems like fire is kind of the main one, but I applaud them for at
Yeah.
least like they're not afraid to have someone get critically injured and have a
Right.
captivating
Mhm.
like physical therapy. Herman's wife getting cancer was so real. I was like,
Yeah.
see, that's
See,
cool.
that's why I like the Chicago franchise. It seemed like they got away from what Law and Order and FBI does. They'll go
Yeah.
for more of the character stories and they'll get
Hmm.
really into that
They're more
um
comfortable.
like less episodic writing and more
Yep.
serial.
Less
Um
formulaic.
which but then you pay, I guess, for that because what are some of them are in their 10th, 11th year and are they running out of stories now? Like everything's happened to them. So,
It's hard, man. You
yeah.
gotta come up with a new reason, and at the same time, you also gotta
Yeah. And
do
that's
something.
why SVU, like it's going in its 25th year and there's still stories to tell about Olivia because
Yeah,
they have like they don't overload you. They don't just shovel the personal stories at you in Law and Order and FBI. So they can last 25 years.
I hope so, man. 'Cause,
Yeah.
uh, right now, they gotta. I guess they gotta get to that point where it's like, is there any happiness? When will they retire?
Yeah. Yeah, still looking. I can't believe even after Elliot's come back for how long like it's taken for these two to even have a conversation, but that's the Dick Wolf format, I guess.
Yeah, can't quite give him what they want, but at least he made amends with his family. I know some people were like, "Oh, his family's annoying." I'm like, see, I like how he's actually making up for him and his mom being away because
Yeah, I like seeing his family. Yeah.
you don't turn out normal if you don't have as much family helping out.
No, I love that trope too that the cops' kids are always, difficult screw ups kind of.
Totally. Uh, all together, I mean, New York Undercover is kind of being rediscovered too, and that was one that was on the Fox channel for 4 seasons. It kind of lost some popularity when they killed off like one of the two duo, but I liked how there was again some of the same Law and Order and Oz actors that Tom Fontana and Dick Wolf both use, and
Oh yeah.
it's been very well remastered. They remastered it for both the Peacock and Amazon streaming, and whatever transfers they're using now on BET, it looks great. But it was one of those, it's just too clever for its own good. Like much like Homicide, they had to deal with like music issues, and it's like, oh, really?
Mhm. I'll
Is
have
what
to
it
check
is.
that one out.
Yeah, no, totally recommend. And it's kind of another one where it just went in stages.
Yeah.
Altogether, I mean, uh, it seems like I've heard rumors of them wanting to try a hate crimes show, and I think they were like, let's try it on Peacock because that way we don't have to worry about language.
Yeah, I've heard about that too, trying to get that off the ground for a while. Sounds interesting though. I think they should do it.
Yeah, I'd be down for it. I'm just not sure like how the format would be or if they would have cameos by some of the other guys. My worry would be that they'd be too overloaded
Yeah.
because when you work your
It's
writers to
interesting that
death,
they'd want to try it now,
yeah,
considering they don't usually go like after um sort of political issues. They usually stay away from
they play it down a bit,
as much as you
and
possibly can.
right, they kind of keep it to just, hey, there was one bad cop or there was one crooked congressman, but
Yeah,
and leave it there. They don't want to uh, divide too much of the audience, but kudos to them for at
that's right.
least,
And
yeah,
yeah, that's why they don't get really too far into the issues, although they have been doing that more now, I feel like.
kudos to them for wanting to try something.
Hmm.
Uh, and I mean, there's like so many guys who've been there like since the start. I lose track of all the names: Renee Belser, Peter Zinkowski.
Yeah,
It's like they always show up at the start. They're basically the ones getting all kinds of reshoots. It's like, let's reshoot that courtroom scene. Let's do this.
yeah. You see all the same kind of names on the credits, that's for sure.
Totally. Oh man. Who would you say are your main favorite characters?
In the whole universe, well, Gorn and Eames are probably my favorite. Those are my top two.
Awesome.
Um,
It is kind of like Star Trek.
and
Like some people forget that there's more than just one, but other people who only saw
yeah,
like the original or Next Gen or DS9 are like, wait, there's more?
yeah, there's a lot
Didn't
to
have the
choose from.
internet back then.
Yeah, I love that they're on FBI. There's so many, like, that's not two main characters
They
for the
talked
show. There's
about,
like five, six some characters, you know.
right?
For FBI, it's Isabel's my number one, and then
She's the
Jewel
one who
is my
pretty
top
much,
two.
she and Valentine, yeah, they both kind of just come in and like brief everybody and was like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
They definitely do it
Well, it's
better there. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, I think he's done interviews before where he said with police procedurals, you have to get all the information, the boring information across
Yeah,
somehow, and he manages to do it interesting, I think, anyways.
they've
So,
gotten beyond, they have changed it up a bit. They're like, now they're doing
yeah,
more than just a walk around and, fancily. It's like now it's like, let's show a computer briefing with a narration,
yeah, yeah,
and then
yeah,
circle around to all the computer techs who are losing their mind, like, oh shit, someone's gonna blow up.
yeah, there's so many possibilities with the Jock. There's, to showcase technology too.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
never, uh, shall we say, the technology never outshines the humans, and I like how they give them more than
mhm.
just basic lines now.
Yeah,
Like,
the technology doesn't do the work for them, that's for sure. It's the analysts really.
hmm
I love how they just managed to get like the craziest information in like 3 seconds though. They're tracking a criminal and they're in his bank account within 10 seconds. And I mean, it goes to a little bit of unrealistic territory there, but it's fun too.
at least they'll leave it to our imagination when they do like the
Yeah.
commercial breaks, because there were so many other
Yeah.
shows where there'd be a commercial break and it's like, what were you doing in those 20 minutes?
Yeah. That's true. For Most Wanted, I mean, Jess was just such a good character. I think all fans just miss him so much.
Yeah,
Um, but other than that, I really like Ray. I really hope he gets more screen time next season. A couple personal stories. They
oh
kind
yeah,
of
Red
fired
Cannon
off
for
a bunch
those.
of
Yeah,
facts right when he came in, and
uh,
then I
and
don't know. There
kudos to
hasn't been much
him,
about him.
and him and the OA actor both got like engaged. So I'm like, see, that is awesome. I
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they did.
because it's
Yeah,
already hard balancing that all out. So I,
yeah,
I just love it when something like that happens, because I see so many other
me too.
people, they're going through the motions way too fast.
Yeah.
Uh,
For international, I think Smitty's probably my favorite. And
nice.
Ketrin was awesome too. I hope she comes back every once in a while. She did last season for an
Mhm.
episode, so hope they keep bringing her back. But yeah, I think Smitty's probably my favorite. Um, and then Chicago, I mean Kelly Severide, I think has to be everyone's favorite
Oh
pretty much.
yeah. I hope they bring him back soon. I know he had like some
Yeah, that's
crazy
right.
emergency, but they did good.
Yeah, he
Like I
left.
loved how Kat was hearing this. Is like, wait, what about my husband? Wait, what? No, that
Yeah,
can't be it. And then they
yeah.
brought Casey
It'll be
back.
interesting to see how it happens because I mean we don't even know when these shows are coming back as of right
Yeah,
now.
for
So I guess they have
2024.
lots of time to figure it out. And whatever he's dealing with, I don't know if it'll be over by the time they come back or whatnot, but
I guess so.
it'll be
And
interesting to see how they try and bring him back.
actors got to take a break anyway. But yeah, I hope it's not too long. But kudos to him for bringing Casey back and him finally resolving all his issues he had with Sylvie. Because it's like, yeah, I was not cool with
Yeah,
how he left her out in the cold. I'm like, dude, you had the world.
yeah.
He believed in you and you
Yeah, I liked
abandoned her.
him coming back too.
We'll return after these messages.
Hello and welcome to Culture Shocked, the pop culture podcast brought to you by four aging millennials and our outdated opinions. Join us every Tuesday as we discuss movies, TV, games, and even music, new and old.
Dude, what do you think you're doing?
Are you seriously trying to record a promo without us right now?
Well, yeah.
Dude, you can't just do the promo by yourself. Who's gonna listen to that?
Yeah, and you probably haven't even told them that we're a pop culture podcast where we always agree on everything. For instance, the Sam Raimi trilogy, easily being the best of the Spider-Man movies.
No. But I think we can all agree that Jaws is a classical masterpiece.
Nope, don't like that. But we do all agree that the sequel trilogy of Star Wars is the best in the Skywalker saga, right, guys?
That comment is so ridiculous. I don't even know where to
Anyways, that'll do it from all of us here at Culture Shock. Thanks for listening.
Hey, it's Brent Pope, the host of Breakfast with Brent Pope. You've seen me on some of your favorite TV shows saying things like, "Give it up, Jimmy. You got to sink this putt to win." On Breakfast with Brent Pope, I sit down with guests from the entertainment world, and we do it all over breakfast. Or should I say Brentfast? Every week on Brentfast, you get inside Hollywood info and tips, great breakfast recs and foodie debates. Most of all, you get the most delightful 30 minutes of your week. So dig in. It's Brentfast time. Listen at Brentfast.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
Do you ever find yourself thinking about who would win in a fight between Goku and Superman? Hi, I'm James Gavsey, and on the Who Would Win show, me and my co-host Ray ignore anything important happening in the outside world and debate fictional battles between characters from comics, movies, and video games.
We got a new show every week, and almost always am I the winner.
Yeah, not true, Ray.
In the past, we've discussed such matches as Captain America versus Darth Vader, Solid Snake versus the Iron Giant, classic matchups like RoboCop versus Terminator, and even the Muppets versus Sesame Street.
That one was crazy. So if you're a fan of geek culture and love a spirited debate, check out the Who Would Win show wherever you get your podcasts, or check us out at whowouldwinshow.com.
We let things pile up in the DVR, we add them to our queues, we wait for the DVDs and Blu-rays. We time shift. The Time Shifters Podcast. Sci-fi, horror, fantasy, superheroes, comedy, action, film, television, maybe some not-so-current events. Find us on iTunes or at timeshifterspodcast.com.
Cool thing about Blind Knowledge is we are in multiple countries. We are worldwide all across the globe. We are in the US, we are in the UK, we are in Canada, Germany, India, Japan. We're in Australia, y'all. BlindKnowledge.com. Now back to the feature presentation.
Something, man.
But Med, actually, I love Oliver Platt. That's probably the only reason I would watch that show.
And the Goodwin gal.
Otherwise, it didn't appeal to me.
Oh, were you familiar with the Van Buren gal? The Esther Partham.
Yeah.
Playing Goodwin.
She was on Law and Order, as the captain.
But yeah, after like season 5, it did kind of lose me there for a bit, and then slowly it's like, okay, now it's acceptable. But I wish they'd change it up once in a while instead of like someone's got a cancer breakdown, because like New Amsterdam was on at that same time, and I was finding that one a little more laid back in a St. Elsewhere way.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, see, I tried to get into it and just didn't. It seemed to me like if Hallmark made a medical drama. And so it wasn't something I wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? I binged like the first 4 seasons of Chicago Fire straight, and then I try and keep up with new episodes. But there's so many seasons, it's hard to, especially with a show like that where you kind of need to know what's gone on before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And as sometimes you do need like to go on the Wicca. You're like, wait. Hold on a minute.
Especially when you're trying to follow new episodes, you need to try and figure out where all these characters have been and what's happened to them.
Yeah, just something to just kind of just reinforce. Okay, this is what we're doing. This is where we're going from here, and this is what they want.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's super easy to get into FBI too, because you really don't need to know. Not that much has happened. You know, they don't, like I said, they don't shovel the personal stories at you, so you can just jump in anywhere and watch it.
Instead of, oh, well, that'd be great, but there's not, like sometimes they would take a while. Like on the new Law and Order, I wanted to know kind of like some of the other guys who were at the desk looking at the information, but they would like throw out their name very briefly and like, whoa. I want to know.
Yeah. That one is like notorious for no character stories whatsoever. just the case every week, which I mean, it's okay, but I like to have a balance.
Yeah. Because
I think they're getting more into it. They had a bit about Cosgrove's, daughter, and
that was great.
some stories related to him. Yeah.
Him and what was his other name? Shaw were cool because like they were just going back and forth on their politics. I like how he had to deal with some cops who were out of line who almost arrested him. It's like, dude, I don't care.
That was a good episode. Yeah.
And he's like, so really good episode. As a compromise, I have to get suspended for 2 weeks. This bullshit.
Yeah, that was the way that it ended too. I thought it was really realistic, even if it wasn't like satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Kate Bishop too. She's probably my favorite on that show.
Yeah, because altogether, wait, Bishop, you mean the Marvel character?
Cameron Manheim. Yeah, the captain, the lieutenant. I guess.
Oh, okay.
Cameron Manheim.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's one of that was what was cool. It's like you get Cameron Manheim and then you get Dylan McDermott. It's like you're acknowledging all the other people who were part of the practice Boston legal shows.
Oh yeah.
Giving them their second chance. And for once, she for a while was playing a few flawed or villainous characters for a while, like on Person of Interest. So it's like, okay, cool. Now she's back to heroic. And by like the 6th episode on that first year Law and Order was back, it was cool because like she's even going after a few petty crimes and saying, hey, I'm here to help out anybody, if whether it's a liquor store robbery or just some other just hard to prove case. But yeah, I do hope they stick with those guys for a while. And same thing with FBI. I was cool with Ortiz and Crosby, and now that Cannon's taking their place, it's like, okay, keep Cannon for a while. I love Cannon the most out of these guys. You're giving him the most screen time.
Yes,
let him stay. Give him 5 seasons. Don't just.
Yeah, they need to stick with that cast and just let them gel for a bit,
Because we love Hannah the hacker. We love Cheryl and her dealing with her family melodrama. And Gaines was cool. I know some people took a while to warm up to her because they need subtitles. I'm like, get out of here, guys. She had scars on her back. That tells us, okay, she's from a very dangerous lifestyle and she's trying to make ends meet with her family.
Yeah, she's got a really interesting backstory. Hopefully they get into more of her personal story too.
Remy Scott's highlight on Most Wanted was probably when he went after that crazy like alt-right talk show host whose son happened to be at like one of the shootings, like leading the militia gunmen. And I love how she's like, I cannot tell a lie, George Washington. And he's like, okay, smartass. I'll be back, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Famous people as he gets a warrant. Oh man.
Yeah, Remy's an interesting kind of opposite of Jess, I guess. I don't know.
I do have to catch up on it, but I do like how they brought back a Vice. Is like, okay, find out my brother's killer. It's like, see, I actually care about this. Unlike if it were any other revenge movie, it would probably seem formulaic and tired. It's like, okay, so I've never seen what the brother looks like, but they've given us enough detail. I'm like, okay, I know his want now, so I'm cool with him trying to close this out.
Yeah, it was interesting how that all unfolded too and where they left it. I mean, they figured it out, I guess, eventually, but
right.
I don't know what all that has, the impact of that will have on him for next season.
I think it's just kind of him wiping the floor clean, but hopefully, I'm with you. I hope it is organized and not just like back and forth like Jess's family, which they later abandoned as soon as he got killed. So like, there was a few plot holes, needed a little more tightening. And I hope they can also give the team more stuff to do, because like that with Ray and Goins, they've at least gotten better at working together and speaking different languages and helping Hannah with her hacking and even being roommates. So I'm like, see, that's more of a family aspect instead of
Yeah.
when they had Sky on there, he was kind of just the guy who came in just to snipe the bad guy at the end. I'm like, well, that's
Yeah.
not much character for him.
No, I wish they would bring him back too. He's an
Yeah.
FBI agent, so it wasn't just because he was, Jess's brother-in-law. They could totally bring him back.
They did kind of have a lame reason. He's like, that's too much for me. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, here's hoping.
Yeah, see, I hope that the thing that bothered me about Remy was, or not bothered me, but I just hope that they use like the resolution of his brother's case to like change him in some way,
Yeah.
because
Instead of
he's very 0 to 60 in 1 second, and he believed that guy was guilty for so long, and just it seemed like I don't know, that episode These Walls, where they were going into the penitentiary and he made that remark saying that everyone in there was a monster. I'm just hoping that now that he knows that guy was innocent, maybe that changes his view.
Yeah, instead of a tough love kind of mentality.
Yeah.
Because he's not a
that seems like what
crazy.
he is.
Because he's not a fearmonger, but he definitely does seem to be a by the book, I'm taking you down. So yeah, I do hope,
Yeah.
like you say, you get more of a Papa Bear instead of
Exactly. Yeah, he seems too much like an authoritarian. I guess you kind of saw the Papa Bear in the Chains episode where Hannah was kidnapped. There was a bit of that.
I think so. I think that brought out is like, now I'm everyone's dad, and I don't know how I feel about that. So now I gotta really just slow down, make time for everybody. I think having his shall we say having him break up with that judge and balance family life, and the others keep bringing him out with having a private birthday party. I think that was the icing on the cake, no pun.
Yeah.
Now I can slow down. Now I can just chill.
Yeah, I agree that they should have broken up, because there was no way that could work. They're just have no time for each other.
And if they
But
found
I loved
out,
her.
that could also.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Wendy Moniz has been busy as hell. Yeah, just going from that organized crime in Yellowstone and
to Yellowstone. Yeah, I love her.
Well, she used to be married, I think, to actor Frank Grillo, who's guest starred on these shows a few times. But yeah,
Okay.
you know him from Purge and the villain in Captain America too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm with it. I think it's looking better. It just took a while after 4 seasons to really get going. But they were kind of concerned with
and
the
to get
crimes.
it. Yeah, and with all the cast changes too. I mean, it can't be easy.
And it's a
to make
different
it feel like
network.
the same show.
NBC is kind of more chillax, while I guess CBS is like, we need you to be more like our CSI and CIS shows. Where it's
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I wonder if that's a struggle at all, because you know how the showrunner likes to keep everything as real as possible. So there's no it's not a memeable show really.
Right.
They don't have like silly lines kind of
yeah.
and
No
crazy
lame puns. Oh, Jenkins.
Yeah, no lame puns.
No
Yeah,
Scooby Doo.
yeah. There's no like off the wall stuff like CSI does every once in a while. Like that could never happen.
Absolutely. And you accept it in a comic book forum, but every once in a while you'd see people who took it serious and like, guys, that it's the most boring, mundane job. You do not want to work there.
Yeah, that's true. They managed to somehow, I guess you have to kind of go in that direction in order to make it interesting. So
yeah. And kudos to the NCIS
all you're doing
guys.
is processing evidence all day. You have to have some sort of interesting
a breaking
take on
point.
it. Mhm.
Oh man. Altogether, I mean, now that other people are taking more risk, I'm feeling good about, at least like you say, just you actually get a feeling that the cast loves each other.
Yeah, for sure. Any like a guest actor that's on any of those shows says what a great set like all of those shows are.
Which is good. And I remember some of the original LNO cast would sometimes say, it's like, you get 2 takes, kid. That's it.
Yeah. It's such a grind, some of them too, because it's so 20 some episodes. It used to be 24 episodes every
Mm-hmm.
season, and most of the cast is in almost every scene. So it's like, I don't know how you can keep the morale up on set when you're
You got to give them.
grinding that much. But I think that's why FBI, like, they work so good, because you're not going to be in every scene. And I know
Right.
Zico said in the first season, like, Maggie and Owe were in every scene almost. And now that there's more than just them two, like, it seemed like it was just the show was mostly them two in the first season.
Yeah,
And
it's
now that there's
48
more
hours.
characters, yeah, to share the load, it's a little bit easier.
And they're comfortable going beyond just Miami Vice, Lethal Weapon territory. Like, we still want to have an actual real life repercussion. Like, okay,
Yeah.
whoa, you just went too far. You gotta answer for that. Got to move you to a different district, or got a month before you're out of the doghouse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, altogether, yeah, I think they're gonna keep getting along. Because, like you say, it's just so saddening when you hear stories years later. Oh, I couldn't stand that guy. That's why I left secretly. I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, really, man?
Yeah. Shocking, especially when you watched it and felt like they must be best friends in real life or something. It's so convincing, right? And
Right?
then to hear that they actually hated each other.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, sometimes I think Dick Wolf also had to learn to be a little less jaded, because at one point he wasn't sure what the audience liked, and so he would make a few cuts. And one time he said, "Oh, that's why he had Logan leave originally." I'm like, dude, everyone loves that character. Say what you will about the actor, but that was offset on inappropriate behavior he did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Later on. Yeah.
yeah. And the damage is done. He's already immortalized himself as a TV character. So, um,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, there's even been like maybe only like 3 SVU episodes I couldn't watch, and it was just because that actor later ended up in a scandal where they got canceled. So I'm like, yeah, I always had
Okay.
a
Yeah.
suspicion about Jeffrey Tambor and Stephen Collins. So yeah, whatever. But kudos to them for
Yeah.
just
They seem to just get, like, the people that just seem to work really well together. I mean, Jeremy and Alana, they were already on Law and Order together, so
yes, so much fun.
already worked well together.
Everyone's pretty much been a guest star like 5 different times before they finally is like, now you get to keep
Yeah.
the same recurring character. I like some of the other short-lived ones, like uh Conviction and Trial by uh not Trial by Fire, but Trial by
Trial by
Jury.
Jury.
But
Yeah.
I think the reasons those didn't do as well is just, again, it was just too much oversaturation. The only one I can't
Yep.
recommend is the Law and Order LA, because the setting was cool, the actors were good, the speeches were fine, but the crime solving just never really clicked. And they had some of those guys appear on SVU briefly, but it was even more confusing because like it doesn't really have much to do with the plot.
Yeah.
But I think any bruises or cuts that they've left, they've sealed shut now. They've finally said, okay, let's not try to do too much, but still let's have something edgy that's going to pull people in, instead of just, hey, here's a shocking crime at the beginning.
Yeah, and focus on making, like, not just recreating the same show,
Yeah,
giving
it's
something different.
it's not just a sexual assault, it's not just a crazy Wall Street tycoon. Now it's all other kinds of crazy, like, hey, someone had revenge on social media, or some politician is doing like organized crime. They did a cool one where it's like, hey, these guys who are trying to make police budget cuts are doing it just so they can cover up their own corruption. So
Yeah. I like when they take that kind of stuff on too.
because that's as real as it gets. Yeah, just about
Yeah, and you
anyone.
can't
Oh,
just ignore it anymore.
no, you gotta. We are definitely in an era where both real life and in society and in entertainment, we're having to remind everyone, hey, there is a double standard. Why is it okay
Yeah.
with this person doing this, but not okay for that guy or that gal?
Hmm.
And are people just jumping on bandwagons, or is it internet bots that have been programmed to, start a new TMZ article.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of hope they keep going in that direction for FBI. I'd love to see them do something taking on AI for the new season.
AI would. Oh yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
point. I have no doubt. I think they're definitely going to play into that. That there definitely was a big episode where they waited a few months, and it's like you could totally tell it was inspired by the Johnny Depp Amber Heard deal, where
Oh yeah.
because of how many facts both sides eliminated and how divided and how the media went for a them versus them tactic, everyone kind of lost because at the end of the day, you really don't know what to think. You got to just question yourself. What do I believe? Some people just kind of are more comfortable just following a leader and doing I love or I hate.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And so it's definitely when it's at its strongest, when it just reminds the viewer, hey, what do you believe?
Yeah, and that's their, main goal, I think, is just to get you to think about it. It's not to provide you with the answer. It's just
There isn't an answer really. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and especially with those cases where there isn't an answer. I like how they do those episodes too.
It never feels like a cop out. Pun intended.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, if Gordon comes back, it's so funny. I never thought they were actually going to bring him back, because even though the fans were so clamoring for it, I joked with a few other fans like, "Hey, Stabler's going to private counseling. Maybe Gordon could be the counselor."
Yeah, that would be so funny. He always says, if they ever did bring it back, he wants to play a more mature Goran, and I can't wait to see that. He's the last season they did, he was in therapy, so
yeah,
hopefully if he
he's a
kept
man.
on with that. Yeah.
And
And
Imes
he's
had to get
like,
over
they don't
her.
need to keep playing with the trope that he needs to go to psych services and have another evaluation. Like, I hope that if they do bring him back, that's all over. He's good now.
He could be kind of like BD Wong's psychologist character, I think.
Yeah. He probably would go that deep too. Like, he
George
wouldn't just
Wong,
stop
yeah.
with his own therapy. He'd want to become the therapist.
Absolutely. He would want to kind of just
Know it inside
heal
and out.
people instead of break them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look for, why is your eyes twitching? He's past that. And it's so
Yeah.
funny because without that show, you don't have Lie to Me, you don't have Criminal Minds, you don't have any of the other
That's
psychological.
true, yeah.
You don't have The Fall with Gillian Anderson even. But yeah, he could be at this point. Yeah, he could. I mean, they did a good job with Imes having her be a liaison, helping out SVU those 2 times.
Yeah, I loved those episodes
So-
too. She was good.
And they had the other gal, Annabelle Scora's character,
Yeah.
worked with Logan, and it's like she got promoted. So I'm like, okay, if you guys can do more with those people, resolve them more. And
Yeah. Yeah, she came back for an SVU episode. Her
Yeah,
character.
I couldn't believe it.
in
I'm like, whoa.
Brooklyn, yeah.
She's got a
Or the
bad police
Bronx.
department, and she's trying to figure out, which of our cops did this crime.
Yeah.
Or is it
It's
none
funny
of
to
them?
see her go from major case to that, though. I don't know.
Yeah, the last time we saw her, she and Logan is like, they didn't show it, but there's like, we just see in their body language they do not like working together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I thought the actors didn't want to be on the show together. I was like, no, they just did their job too well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think we've hit on some of the big points. Really, I think if SVU just keeps up the momentum with just more manhunts and more technology and
Yeah. And getting back to focus on the victims, too, I think they got a little bit away from that.
they did for a little too long, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it was at its best, I think, maybe 5 seasons ago, where they had people who had like been from previous episodes, and lo and behold, there was mistrials or something, and they tied it to one
that's
big
really cool.
culprit. Because then it gave all those other guys something more to do. Is like, okay, early winners, victim character's back, and she's still on bad behavior.
Yeah.
She has information, so we got to work with her.
I like when they bring back a case like that and like view it through a new lens. Like, oh, maybe I didn't do that right. Maybe we
Yeah,
did put away the wrong person. Yeah.
absolutely. Have a guilty conscience. Is like, okay, yeah, don't ever play God when you're going to do this. 'Cause-
Yeah, because it happens. You do put the wrong guy away sometimes, I guess.
And I think that's how Chicago PD has to end. Is like Voight has to go away for some scandal or something. Because like that first
Yeah.
part of season 10 kind of had me, and then they got into even more like dense territory where I'm like, it's okay. I like some of these other new guys, but I don't feel like they're much of a
I
team
don't
anymore.
like, admittedly, I don't know much about it, but I feel like Voight has to go down for something, right? He's
Yeah.
gonna get himself in trouble.
Oh, and that's just it. I get that there are some cops in Chicago in real life who have been like Chicago still to this day has to like pay for some victims of wrongful convictions, like free college
Oh,
and
yeah.
everything. So I wish they'd harp on that a little more instead of push it to the side saying he's imperfect. I'm like, I know,
Yeah.
but this isn't SWAT or SEAL team where it's a giant mission and it's boom done.
Yeah.
Want some kind of justice because he's not a good guy.
No, and I like when they have the flawed, imperfect character, but we have to do something with that other than just
Right.
say, well, that's just the way I am. They have to strive to be better.
Absolutely. On NYPD Blue,
Yeah.
they at least found out, okay, these guys are bigots, but at least they're the rest of the series, they're going to slowly overcome their prejudice and get married and all that
Yeah.
instead of,
Yeah.
well,
No,
I'm the
Voight doesn't
same.
want to do that. He just
Yeah. Oh, I can hope. Can only
Yeah, you
hope.
know what? They created him when, like, what was it, 10, 11 years ago? And then, like, a sort of like policing revolution happened, and they had to show that within him, but I don't know that they really have. So
Yeah, and that's so funny because
he's sort of an outdated character, quickly became an outdated character.
Yeah, I was kind of that way too because like PD was like the first one sold into syndication, so I saw that one first, and then I found out the hard way. Oh, Fire is the first one, and you look at him so differently when he's the opposing antagonist on that, and then they restructure him.
Yeah. That's why I couldn't watch it. I saw him on Fire first, I guess. And he was just going after Casey the whole time, right?
You're right,
11?
and
Yeah.
the other guys were fine too, and I just thought they were more interesting than Voight because Voight's just a hard ass now.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I think a lot of people watch it for Haley too, right?
Yeah, it was cool when they had her crossover on FBI, but then they,
Yeah,
I
that was a
guess,
good episode. That's one of the best rated episodes too.
I
So
would imagine, but yeah, and then I guess CBS or NBC said, "Oh, conflict of interest can't do that anymore." I don't know why they stopped.
yeah, that's true. It's different networks, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't name her characters, so I mean,
Yep.
who knows? I think some of the fans are going to settle down too because I saw some of them get in some warring conflicts with the screenwriters changing and thinking Rollins was
Okay.
away.
Yeah. Yeah, see, you never know really what the real story is. I don't know why they moved Rollins off of SVU, really.
I think
I
they
mean,
just
there's all
wanted
kinds of
to
theories, but
change it up, but then they found out,
yeah, just
okay,
change it up. Yeah.
we'll bring her back eventually. But I was expecting her to come back, but I guess the fans were like, we want an instant thing. So I think that's the hard thing too. You don't know. Star Trek has had this too, because it's like you don't know how much of it is they want it to be serialized versus they're okay with formulaic, or they just want to complain for the sake of it. Or I know one of the writers kind of had to be grilled by Dick Wolf or something, according to a few other SVU podcasts, because like he was not the most social media savvy. He's like, don't get in arguments with
Okay.
fans, just acknowledge and just move on.
Yeah,
It just makes an ass
that's
out of
true.
you if you just
Yeah, for sure.
go back
Yep.
and forth.
Yeah, but you know what? I was never really attached to the Rollins character anyways, so I was okay with it.
It
I'm
seems
okay with
like
the cast
people,
changing and bringing in new characters.
that's kind of how I am too. Like for me, it's a natural progression. If they got a conflict
Yeah.
and they go off, it was no different for me than say Curtis and Green and company, and even Jerry
Yep.
Orbach's, Briscoe. But
Yep.
eventually, I guess they got to that point. I mean, I know so many people who stopped watching SVU the minute Stabler left. I was like, seriously? They had, I liked Amaro, but a lot of people hated him. I'm like, shit.
Yeah, I didn't really find anything special about Amaro, unfortunately, but
That's okay.
I'm sure different characters for different people. So, I'm not a big Maggie fan, and she's like the draw for that show. So it just depends who you are.
Yeah, I guess that's it too. Like they didn't know what to do with Maggie in a way at first, and then eventually it was like, okay, no. Now they started off differently. Now they have Scola and
Tiffany.
Yeah, Tiffany was cool, and
Tina.
Yeah, Tina. Yeah, and having that whole giant crossover where there's like a international criminal who kidnapped her is like, I say, cool. That was a good way to bring it over together with the international crew. The international crew,
Yeah,
I felt got more comfortable by season 2, but
yeah, for sure.
They
had a stellar first season, though. I love that season.
Yeah, it was explosive. How many diplomat and assassinations they were doing. Now I think they're kind of a little too much in like back to romance and kidnappings again. And I'm like, I kind of like did change it up a bit.
Yeah. They take more risks on that show with their characters, and there's personal stories too. There's more of personal stories on that show than there is on FBI. I feel like they kind of go with an arc for the whole season with FBI. I mean, this season was really about Scola. So.
Yes. And it's so wild that actor John Boyd, he's always been the FBI guy. He was a FBI guy on 24,
Bones, right? Yeah.
And then he was on Bones. Yeah. So he's embraced that typecast, but now I think that's definitely, like I say, his most nuanced character. But the Tiffany was interesting because I think it's Wallace is her last name, and is like she was a Broadway star, and now she's, she's interesting as a partner to them. But then I do like how they change it out. It's like sometimes he's teamed with Maggie and she's teamed up with OA. It's like, okay, good.
Yeah, I hope Tiffany gets more screen time and stories next season 2. She got a couple related to her
siblings,
NYPD days. Yeah, and then there was the one with her. That was a really good episode.
Those were highlights.
But I don't feel like she's had barely any personal stories. Has she been on there for like 3 years already?
About 2 or 3 years, yeah. So I would hope they do more with her. I like how Isabel had to resolve her annoying dad, who's like a businessman.
Yes, I hope they bring him back too.
Yeah, it was a good actor
for her. Yeah.
She's like, sorry, Dad. I think I gotta shut down your business.
Yeah. And they didn't even really. I was confused by that, whether he was supposed to be the hotel owner or just the lawyer. I don't know. I'd really like to learn more about how he became who he is from being a Mexican immigrant. I'd like to know how that whole thing played out.
I hope so, man. I don't leave it unresolved.
Yeah, and then there's Jubal's whole time in Russia. He lived in Russia for a while, and he has some sort of diplomat grandfather that we don't know about.
Oh man. Because last year he was worried about his girlfriend who was annoying everybody and overstaying her welcome. And then he had his kid get kidnapped by some incel student. Like, jeez. And they couldn't air it right away, so they had to wait like another season to air it. I'm like, jeez. But I saw
that one.
Yeah, because they aired it offline, like live on the CBS app. So.
Oh yeah, see, I have the Apple TV, whatever you call it, the season pass, so I got to see it right away. But yeah.
Yeah, but it was confusing at first because then later it appeared as like season 5, episode 6. I'm like, what? Yeah. Now it's airing.
Yeah, that was a good episode. I liked that they didn't have Isabel there for that episode too, because he was kind of chaos.
Yeah, and it would have given him away. Had she found out, she totally would have told him, hey, I need to just step down.
He would have been pulled off that, right? He wouldn't have been doing anything like that. So
he disguised it. He had OA and Maggie investigate it at first, and then he finally stepped in.
Yeah. I love when the cases get personal for him. His episodes are some of my favorite ones because he just
especially the bank robbery one.
It's so fun.
Yeah, do you remember the bank robbery one where it was like a bunch of people is like they were trying to afford a surgery or something,
Yeah,
but they kept
Heroes. Yeah,
losing.
that was a good one.
And they had like one of the techs who had never done any of the field work, and he's having to play it cool,
Yep.
plant the
He's the one who
bugs.
turned out to be the hero. Yeah, that was a good episode.
Yes,
That's one of my favorite from season 5.
totally. I can't believe it's already season 5. Like, good man, oh man,
I know.
this has
Gone
flown,
fast.
and it's had to change it
Yeah.
up. The political landscape's changed up in real life, so they're now trying to kind of just still talk
Yep.
about troublesome subject matter without dividing its audience as much. But
Yeah. They made it through a pandemic too.
yeah, it was interesting. They'd start off a scene, take off their mask, and then put it back on again. NCIS New
Yeah.
Orleans did the same thing. And I was like, oh,
Now they're gonna all have to make it through a writer's strike, and who knows what'll happen after that, or the actor's strike too. That should be coming up.
yeah, I'm hoping they really get a good deal and they don't gut it before they
Me
find a
too.
resolution.
Yeah. I really hope they get
AI should be
being an
reserved
AI
for,
resolved.
yeah, that should be like a non-union, like amateur filmmaking deal. Like,
Yeah.
instead of a, hey, everyone in the industry is using it. It's like, well, okay, so they used it on Top Gun, but that was because the actor's voice literally wasn't working. And they wanted to credit him.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, that it's just amazing how there's still people thinking, hey, we can save time and money. I'm like, but you'll kind of open yourself up to lawsuits because what if they
Yeah.
don't approve?
To losing control of your image must be so scary too as an
Oh,
actor.
yeah. I'd be like, dude, I'll leave the show before you use my voice.
Yeah.
There's
So I'm willing to wait as long as it takes, and
whatever they got to do to just apply the pressure and just say, no go. You will not use
Yeah.
this. Because, like, if they do
Exactly.
that could also threaten TV and video game voice actors who make this their living. That what do you do about that then?
Yeah, and I think the quality of all of that just goes downhill if you just
Yeah,
start using AI for it.
it'll sound like they're speaking awkwardly, even though it's not them.
Yeah.
I understand Siri and all that, but and Alexa, that would be a fun way to disguise it. A guy who's making a new streaming network is using AI,
Yeah.
telling people to commit murder.
Yeah, it's not. I have no desire to see a TV show produced by AI. I can't imagine.
Yeah,
It wouldn't be very good at all.
yeah, it'd be too robotic. It's entertaining if you're a cyborg.
Yeah.
Your expectations are low.
Yeah, there's no way.
Well,
There's no way to make a human story from AI. I don't know.
yes. And I'm with you. If they want to take a break from all the other Chicago shows and just keep fire on, I'm pretty much with you and some of the other fans. I'm just like, just have Casey
Yeah.
still be on the team in some way, even if he has to just be a DEA guy, and have Sylvie find resolution with this new adopted daughter. And then some of the other guys that they were poking at, it was like, see, that's cool. They're dealing with shit from their past that's always irked them, instead of, hey, let's have some, because it's always been pretty consistent, but every once in a while they would try and find a new recruit and then dismiss them after 7 episodes.
Yeah.
So now that they're, and it's so funny because one of the main supervisors who was questionable used to be Gary Cole, but he's now on NCIS. So I don't think he's going to be available
Okay.
anytime soon to be one of the main bureaucrats. And I think they're past it now because they used to have who is so and so dating. Now they're past that. Now they're past, will the chief get fired by someone who doesn't have the
Yeah.
department's interest? Now they've come a long, long way. So as long as they keep kind of going for more human issues, and ironically, I kind of like Trudy, the desk sergeant on PD, way better on
Yeah.
Fire, because
Yep.
she's
On
no
Fire, yeah.
longer
I like her.
she's no longer making sarcastic jokes about writing speeding tickets. She's now actually helping out Mouch with the bar.
Yeah, I like her.
Totally. And there's another theater veteran. You look at her credits, just like she was doing bit parts and movies and so, and then now that's like her bread and butter.
Yeah.
Well, it's come a long way. Thank you ever so much for being part of the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Anytime.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a